Malcolm and Marcus plus you were reborn. Call me Chad X, new Black Panther. With a race fist, I resist racist oppression, injustice. Mark my words, I won't quit. Never give up till we get justice.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy CS Motivated Minds. I noticed over the weekend that a lot of people were in an uproar over what Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey had to say about these No King protesters if they came down to Brevard County. I saw things like this, pretty much stoking the flames, posted all over the internet. Let's look at what the media outlets, YouTubers, podcasters, and a lot of other people on social media showed y'all. And then I'm going to come back and show what they didn't.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop.
My initial thought was, he trying to be like Grady Judd so bad.
I don't think they know who Sheriff Grady Judd is.
Oh, this is Sheriff Grady Judd.
And he shot my deputies, and then we killed him, graveyard dead.
But back to Sheriff Ivey. What I did was I went back and I looked at the entire press conference because I wanted to know exactly what he said. And I'm going to show y'all what the media and a lot of the podcasters and YouTubers and these social media folks that's trying to fan the flames, what they did not show you.
So I'm gonna first say that peaceful protests are part of our democracy. We invite people to share their opinions. That's what our country is all about. The key word in that is peaceful. And if it's peaceful, us in law enforcement are going to make sure you have a safe environment to do it in. That's part of that process. If you let it turn violent, you do not want to do that in Brevard County. I'm going to tell you that, and I believe I can speak for my fellow sheriffs around the rest of the state. You don't want to let it happen. And just so there's no confusion, because I don't want to hear any whining later saying we didn't know, I'm going to break it down for you.
That's what they didn't show y'all. And what he said is exactly right. It is our First Amendment right to peacefully protest. Most people are familiar with the First Amendment, whether you've actually read the amendment or not, but it guarantees basically 5 fundamental freedoms, which is freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, the right to peacefully assemble, and the right to petition the government for redress of grievances, which means that whole redress of grievances part means that we have the right to petition the government to correct a wrong or injustice. Now, having put all of that in context, what Sheriff Ivey said makes perfect sense. He said, if you get violent, and I want to make sure that there's no confusion, right? If you get violent, then these are the things that we are going to do if you let it get violent. Now that it's all in context, let's go look at the things that he said was going to happen.
And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail.
All right, let me jump in right here. And I'm going to do this through this whole thing while he's talking. So what he's saying, if you resist a lawful order, I mean, the key word there is lawful, then guess what's going to happen? I mean, that's in any situation. You resist a lawful order, you're going to jail. So there's nothing wrong with what he said there.
Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail.
Okay, so here's something else that there's nothing wrong with that because it is against the law. I know here in Florida, you cannot, you can't block a roadway or an intersection. And there's some little nuances in there as far as the going to jail part, but yeah, you can't block an intersection, or a roadway.
If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail.
Here is why I kind of laugh, because that is something that Sheriff Grady Judd would say. So this is just one of the things where I say he want to be Grady Judd so bad, but what he's saying is true. If you flee arrest, guess what? They gonna run you down, and you gonna go to jail tired. Probably beat up too, maybe, but he didn't say that. That's me. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with what he said. It's a little funny, and people got in their feelings, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with what he said.
If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over.
Okay, so yeah, that's where right here it get a little tricky, but common sense would tell people don't step in front of cars and don't block traffic. You know what I mean? Because yeah, it's the very likelihood that you just might get run over because people might be scared. So you don't necessarily know what people will do in those situations, especially when you got a mob of people surrounding the car. Yeah, you might get ran over.
And dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail.
Okay. I don't need to say anything about that because spitting on somebody is one of the nastiest things that you can do. And if you spit on a deputy or police officer or law enforcement officer, I should say it like that, yeah, you going to jail. Yeah, you probably gonna get beat up, and then you going to jail.
If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here.
Okay, he that was a bit much right there about the dog part, but the first part of that, you hit a police officer. Yep, you going to jail.
If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead.
Yeah, that right there is another one of those comments that he said that I would say he's trying to sound like Sheriff Grady Judd. That part about we'll be notifying your family where to pick up your remains. Well, yes. That is a Grady Juddism. Yeah, Grady Judd would have said that all day long. The moral of the story is if you are exercising your constitutional right and your First Amendment right, and you are peacefully protesting, then you're not going to have an issue. And if you are peacefully protesting and they violate your rights, guess what? Now you have a case. Now, if you choose civil disobedience, and just let me be clear, civil disobedience is often peaceful, but you're violating the law, then there are consequences that come with civil disobedience. Just like during the civil rights movement, they engaged in civil disobedience and yeah, they got knocked in the head and yeah, they went to jail. But, but that's a different time. But that's civil disobedience. But what the sheriff here is talking about is if the folks there, they want to bring the protest there and you choose violence, then all of these things, are going to happen. Just a short story. I remember one time I was downtown and they had a Black Lives Matter rally. I happened to be on my motorcycle riding. And for the most part, everybody was down there doing what they were supposed to do. They stayed on the sidewalk, but you had about 3 individuals that decided to do something that was outside of what everybody else is doing. Those are the things that turn a peaceful rally that could turn it violent, or that's the things that get captured on the news because they weren't on the sidewalk and it was blocking traffic. If the police would have came out there and knocked them in the head and this and that would have made the news. Anyway, people got in their feelings about what the sheriff said, and I don't really see anything wrong with what he said. Yep, there's a couple times where he talked about our big, beautiful dogs. That was a bit much. Yeah, you didn't have to say all of that. Or when he said,
if you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead.
yeah, you doing them things. That's normally what happens. Again, it all makes sense when you put everything he said in context. I know somebody gonna see this and they're gonna be mad and try to argue me down, but whatever. Hey, this your boy CS Motivated Minds. I'm out.